Straight ahead on 12 News, a sport that's flying high in Blaine.
These are elite athletes that train year-round, and this is the highest level of the sport.
We'll take you to the Super Bowl of Ultimate Frisbee. Plus, a new memorial unveiled this 4th of July weekend to honor veterans. But first,
it's a beautiful time to become a U.S. citizen.
On a weekend America celebrates its independence, hundreds celebrate a new chapter in their lives. 12 News starts right now. This Independence Day will be one to remember for several families.
Hundreds of immigrants became U.S. citizens today in Brooklyn Center. And 12 News reporter Shannon Slatton was there.
I solemnly swear.
The final step of citizenship only took mere minutes.
Just brief and beautiful. And we are citizens now. We are happy to be in America.
But for this family, like many others,
it's a long journey that began 7 years ago, and this just marks the beginning of a new chapter in my life.
And there's no doubt the first part of this new chapter is full of smiles.
Just so happy that they were part of this process, and we are happy that the country has welcomed us. The country has treated us really good. We're just excited to be here.
It's really just a heartwarming day. And, you know, the coldest, most bitter setting, you know, it's got to break a smile in this room, you know, because it's just that exciting.
U.S. Representative Keith Ellison welcomed more than 400 new citizens from 81 countries in one of two ceremonies at the Earl Brown Heritage Center. This group joins more than 9,000 people who became U.S. citizens all across the country this week.
It's the culmination of dreams come true for so many people. These folks have an appreciation for what it means to be an American that many of us who were born here, like myself, really don't have.
It's so amazing. I am a citizen of the United States of America. It feels great.
It's an amazing day, long path. It has been taking 13 years to get to this point, and we are really happy to do this.
Whether they were escaping war or just wanting a better life, a new chapter starts for these new citizens in the most patriotic way possible.
Especially at it is goes to 4th of July. It's a beautiful time to become a U.S. citizen, especially today.
In Brooklyn Center, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
In all, there were 100 naturalization ceremonies across the country from June 30th to July 4th.
The city of Rogers is saying thank you to men and women who have served our country. The city teamed up with local civic groups and individual community members to raise funds for a veterans memorial. A ribbon-cutting ceremony will be held on July 4th. The memorial features monuments and pavers etched with names of armed services members, as well as granite benches, a flagpole, and new trees and landscaping.
I think it helps with a sense of pride and community spirit, looking for a way to honor our veterans. There have been many wars and conflicts, and sometimes it's even awkward to say thank you.
The dedication ceremony will be held at 10 o'clock Friday morning at Triangle Park, where the memorial is located.
A Brooklyn Park man with a lengthy criminal history is now accused of abandoning his children at the scene of an accident. Earl Ward drove into a construction hole on a St. Paul street. The criminal complaint says he quickly left the scene. Police say his children, ages 14 and 8, suffered serious injuries. It's possible the older child may not walk again because of a spinal injury. Ward had been arguing with the children's mother before the accident. One of the charges against Ward is violating a no-contact order with the mother.
Anyone planning to pay a visit to Medicine Lake this summer now has free access to a life-saving tool. Officials from French Regional Park in Plymouth have installed a storage container near the public boat launch area. It's filled with dozens of life jackets of various sizes that anyone can borrow free of charge. The Kids Don't Float program was made possible by the Minnesota Water Safety Coalition, which wants to remind people that state law requires a life jacket to be accessible for each person on a boat.
The idea is if people come to a boat launch, they're going boating, and maybe it's the first time of the year, or they have a child whose life jacket no longer fits, or they simply forget a life jacket, there is a way to borrow one. So they always are thinking about safety first. And it's a way that you can just use it for the day, use it for an hour, and put it back in.
Free life jackets are already available at 3 locations on Lake Minnetonka.
Starting next week, you'll notice even bigger changes over at the state capitol. Most of the capitol will close to the public as restoration work enters the next phase. That includes replacing the roof and preparing the building for new mechanical and electrical systems. The present structure is actually the state's 3rd capitol building. The first one was destroyed by fire in the late 1800s, and the second, completed in 1883, was quickly deemed too small. The capitol repairs are scheduled to wrap up in 2017. 24 teams of men and women from around the country and the world are in Blaine this weekend.
It's an elite group of athletes competing for a championship in ultimate Frisbee, just as the sport reaches new heights. On America's big holiday weekend, international enthusiasm for ultimate Frisbee
Jake, Osseo!
plays out on the fields of the National Sports Center in Blaine.
Listen! Unders! All the way!
Welcome to the U.S. Open Championships, the Super Bowl of ultimate Frisbee.
This is club sports, but these are elite athletes that train year-round, and this is the highest level of the sport.
The high-flying sport combines elements of soccer, basketball, and football. Think running the field, pivoting and passing, and scoring in the end zone. Gaining in popularity, ultimate could one day become an Olympic sport.
Go Dragons!
Though 30-year-old Josh Hemish of Golden Valley admits the sport is often misunderstood.
People ask if that's the one with the baskets, which is actually disc golf, or oftentimes they'll also ask if we're playing with your dogs. Neither of those are actually true in this case.
In a sport where players self-officiate,
Here we go, White!
and a tradition of sportsmanship governs the game,
Nice game.
ultimate comes down to character.
You're not looking to a referee to make the call to try and make it fair. It's on you to, play respectfully with your opponents.
Josh Hemish's Minneapolis team beat their Colombian opponent today, but they all ended up arm in arm.
To come here and to play with you guys, it's an honor.
It's a sign of the camaraderie shared, true to the spirit of the game. Last week, USA Ultimate became a member of the U.S. Olympic Committee. The tournament in Blaine runs through Sunday. For more information about the weekend events, you can go to 12.tv. Coming up, a Bigfoot sighting in Maple Grove, and it turns out he's a lot different than you might think.
Then later in sports, Wayzata scores a win in its first game of the Delano 4th of July Legion Baseball Tournament.
But first, after a severe winter and the wettest year to date, you can relax and enjoy one fine 4th.
Don't be a dud, use fireworks safely. That's the motto this year by the State Department of Public Safety to encourage everyone to have a safe 4th of July. Aerial or exploding fireworks are still illegal in Minnesota. Examples of illegal fireworks include bottle rockets, Roman candles, and firecrackers of any size. And if you do use legal fireworks like sparklers, public safety officials say it's important to keep a bucket of water nearby to cool spent sparkler wires. Another tip, never attempt to relight a device that doesn't ignite the first time. You can imagine what could happen.
Yeah.
According to legend, he may be 8 feet tall and smell like a skunk, but you could be surprised to learn a few things you didn't know about Bigfoot.
Sasquatched the Musical is a new play that will be performed next week at Maple Grove's Town Green. 12 News reporter Chris Wyant gives us a preview in our weekend showcase.
It was Bigfoot! I saw him out in the woods!
Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Yeti. Whatever you call it, it's real, it's alive, and it's coming soon to Maple Grove's Town Green.
The premise is Bigfoot is real, but he's a lot different than you think he is. He's actually a rather dignified, reserved figure, and it's the humans who are kind of the wild and crazy ones.
Sasquatch the Musical is the story of Arthur.
All of my life I have worked hard to be a humble, good Sasquatch and dad.
A gentle, dignified, talking, singing Sasquatch who winds up lost in the woods.
Excuse me, sir. I'm lost.
In the show, he crosses paths with a host of characters.
Shake the camera and roll
There's a TV crew that's trying to investigate the mystery of Bigfoot. We have a little boy who's lost in the woods and his overprotective parents who lose him.
Portraying this gentle giant is not without challenges for actor Dylan Olmsted, who grew a big beard for the role.
I keep, whenever I'm eating, getting my mustache in my mouth, which is kind of, I'd rather that didn't happen, but for the character, it looks better.
The show features original music. And choreography.
I'm sort of hoping that I'm going to start a dance craze called the Bigfoot. Because there's a signature move that I've used a couple of times in a couple different numbers.
Written by a Maple Grove playwright, the show debuted in New York last year.
And it's something I think that Minnesotans can get behind, to be pretty proud of, that we were able to get out to New York with something, and hopefully something pretty special that we can bring back home for you guys all to see here.
Let's go over this one more time.
For Weekend Showcase, Carissa Wyant, 12 News.
The musical runs July 6th to the 8th at 7 p.m. at Maple Grove's Town Green, and the performances are free. And if the temperature is about 100 degrees, Bigfoot will lose weight fast.
That's exactly right.
Like a big outfit.
Coming up, a garden in Plymouth that's much more than a garden. It's actually producing seeds of hope.
And up next in sports, on a perfect weekend for the lake, Terry Tuma offers up a tip for catching bass. John Jacobson is in next. Pretty good start for Wayzata in a holiday tournament.
1 down, 2 to go. Yes, they're off and running. For the 9th straight year, Delano's American Legion baseball team is hosting a 4th of July tournament. Osseo's team has had success in the tourney before. This year, Wayzata is the only local team in the field. Wayzata facing Minneapolis Southwest in the quarterfinals Wednesday. Top of the first, Michael Bolke's base hit to right scores 2, including Suman Song, and gives Wayzata the quick lead. Same inning, Kyle Haskamp drops a hit into center field. That plates 2 more. Jake Marsh slides in with the 5th Wayzata run. Top of the second, Connor Olson singles to center. Song scores again for Wayzata, and they lead 9-0 after 2 innings. Top of 6 and a 2-out rally for Wayzata. Brendan Brody's hit the other way, scores Eric Stolt. Then Olson comes through again. His base knock scores Brody and Haskamp for a 15-4 Wayzata lead. They go on to win 15-8 and will play Waconia in the semifinals on the 4th at 3:30 p.m. The USA Cup soccer tournament is coming soon to the National Sports Center in Blaine, when thousands of youth soccer players will overrun the North Metro. But this weekend will be a busy one at the center too. As you saw in Alex's story a few minutes ago, the U.S. Ultimate Championships are already underway. There are men's, women's, and a mixed tournaments up at Blaine. Throw in the fact that the Minnesota United Soccer Club hosts the Mexico Under-21 team Friday night. That side was practicing this morning. And the Minnesota SummerSlam Youth Hockey Tournament is going on, and it'll be a hopping 4th in Blaine.
4th of July is normally kind of quiet for us, but this one, we're rocking at the National Sports Center. We have an Ultimate event. It's an international event put on by USA Ultimate. Minnesota United FC is playing an exhibition match. So this is the group of Mexican players that probably will be the World Cup team in 4 more years. Then we have a hockey tournament over the 4th of July, which is kind of rare. Normally we don't have hockey events over the 4th of July.
The SummerSlam hockey tournament is bringing boys and girls teams to the Twin Cities from as far away as New York State, and is underway now, wrapping up on Sunday. Matching the right crankbaits with the fishing conditions when out fishing for bass can make a big difference. Terry Tuma explains in this week's Channel 12 fishing tip.
A great format to select colors when you're fishing largemouth bass or smallmouth also, and even we could carry it to the next step of walleye fishing, but especially with largemouth bass. And so often people will say, well, what colors should I start with, or is there a general rule? And yeah, there is a general rule, and that meaning if you have clear water, pick out more of the natural colors. And then if you got the darker watercolor, you want something that the bass can actually see, so pick out some of the colors that are going to be more brighter, if you will, and especially with something with orange or red belly, if you will, some of that under part of the body of the crankbait to be a brighter color. And you can use a marker pen to change some of the colors. And then of course the scale effect is going to create less reflection or less, it's more of a dull color. It's sort of matte, the crankbait. And then too, we all know about, you know, the different vibration factors due to the design of a crankbait. That's also a big ingredient. Rattles and no rattles is a factor. But what we have to understand with crankbaits, there is no specific color chart, if you will. These are general formats only. And with color, we have to be willing to experiment. We have to be willing to keep on trying, and along with this experimentation is, you know, so many times we hear about matching the hatch. Sometimes that's a good way to go. You know, if they're feeding on sunfish, bluegills, then we want to start with some of those colors that are going to match that. If they're feeding on gizzard, shad, or shad, then, or a minnow type of food source, then we want to try some of their natural colors. So there's a lot to be said about color. Does color make a difference? Absolutely. Work with color, you are going to increase your success for bass.
Thanks, Terry, and that's it for sports for today.
All right, thanks, John. We'll be right back. The gardens at Interfaith Outreach in Plymouth are in full bloom.
Reporter Sonia Goins goes in the garden to show us how the gardens are not only full of flowers, but they are producing seeds of hope to the clients who visit the facility.
All right. Now these are daylilies here.
Nancy Nordmeyer is a member of the Wayzata Garden Club.
The active members are here once a week, almost all summer, spring, fall, and summer.
She says anyone can have a garden like this.
This is a ground geranium.
Nancy says a good garden starts with good, rich soil.
The good soil to start out with. Manure is real good to get mixed into the soil.
Besides watering and fertilizing, Nancy says you also have to deadhead your annuals so you'll get more blooms.
This is a spent bloom right here. And if you just take your fingernail and snap it like this, and this not only will everything bloom better, but it's going to also make a much prettier plant when all of the dead blooms are taken off of it.
Clients here at Interfaith Outreach say these gardens are more than beautiful. They say the flowers are pretty and they give them a sense of peace.
They put a lot of time and effort and care into it, and it's kind of like it gives back also.
Bonnie Folkstead is in between jobs.
They meet the gaps in my life.
Bonnie wanted the staff to see what she sees when she looks at the garden.
And I love taking macro photography.
So she took a few pictures to show them.
They just represent blossoming and vibrance and, you know, all the things that when you're in transition you so desperately need.
And that's exactly why we planted the garden. And so we know people really appreciate it, and it can lift anybody's spirits.
For In the Garden, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
Oh, very nice. The main garden was donated by the Coach and Turnquist families, and several local businesses have also helped out by giving plants and other products to the gardens. They look beautiful,
Oh, they
too.
do.
Absolutely. That'll do it. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Community Corner is coming up next.